I need to write this down before I lose my mind or before something happens to me. I don't know who else to tell this to because everyone I trusted turned out to be part of it. My husband's family stole my daughter's identity and sold her biometric data on the dark web. And when I found out, they tried to have me committed so they could take her from me permanently. This is everything that happened 2 years ago. My life was perfect. I know how that sounds, but it really was. I had married into what I thought was the ideal family. My husband Jake came from money. Not crazy rich, but comfortable. And his parents Ron and Patricia were the kind of people who hosted holiday dinners and remembered everyone's birthday. Jake's brother Eric was a software developer, quiet but successful. And his sister Michelle worked in marketing. They all lived within 20 minutes of each other. When I got pregnant, they threw me the most beautiful baby shower. Patricia cried when we told her we were naming our daughter Emma. She said it was her grandmother's name. I felt so lucky. Emma was born in March, healthy and perfect. The family was obsessed with her. They wanted photos constantly. They set up a shared family album app so everyone could see new pictures. Patricia asked me to send videos of Emma every day so she wouldn't miss any milestones. Eric built us a baby monitor system with cameras he said were top of the line, completely encrypted and secure. Michelle made an Instagram account to document Emma's first year. I thought they were just excited grandparents and aunts and uncles. I thought the attention was love. The first weird thing happened when Emma was 4 months old. I got a notification on my phone that someone had tried to open a credit card in my name. I called the bank immediately, and they said the application had come from an IP address in another state. But it had been flagged as suspicious because it included a photo ID that didn't quite match their records. I changed all my passwords and figured it was just random identity theft. Jake said it happened to everyone eventually. I reported it and moved on. But then a week later, I got a letter in the mail saying that a savings account had been opened in Emma's name at a bank I'd never heard of. The letter was addressed to Emma but sent to our house. I called the bank and they said the account had been opened online using a social security number and a birth certificate scan. They closed it immediately when I told them it was fraud. I asked them to send me copies of everything that had been submitted. When the documents came, I saw Emma's real social security number, her real birth certificate, and a photo of her that I had taken just 3 days earlier. That photo had only been shared in the family album app. I went through my phone and found it. I had uploaded it with the caption "Tummy Time." It had been viewed by everyone in the family. No one else had access. I mentioned it to Jake that night and he said, "I probably posted it on Facebook and forgot." I told him I didn't have Facebook. He said maybe someone screenshot it from Instagram. I told him Michelle ran that account and it was private with only family followers. He got annoyed and said I was being paranoid. He said identity theft was random and I needed to stop obsessing. I dropped it, but I didn't stop thinking about it. I started watching the family album app more carefully. I noticed that Eric was downloading almost every photo I uploaded, not just viewing them, but saving them to his device. The app showed a little download icon next to his name. I thought maybe he was just being a proud uncle. Patricia and Michelle downloaded photos too, but not every single one. Eric did. Every photo I posted, within 10 minutes, Eric downloaded it. I thought it was odd, but I didn't say anything. Then Emma started getting mail. Not just the bank letter, but other things. A welcome packet from a pediatric dental office 3 states away. A membership card for a pharmacy rewards program I'd never signed up for. A notice about an upcoming appointment at a clinic in Nevada. We lived in Pennsylvania. I called every single place and told them we had never been there. Never signed up. Never made an appointment. They all said the same thing. The accounts had been created online using Emma's information and a parent's email address. When they read me the email address, it was mine. But I had never used it. Someone had created accounts in Emma's name using my email. I went into my email settings and checked for forwarding rules. There was one. Every email with Emma's name in the subject line was being forwarded to an address I didn't recognize. It was a string of random numbers and letters at a domain I'd never heard of. I deleted the rule and changed my password again. I didn't tell Jake about the email forwarding. I was starting to feel crazy. He'd already accused me of being paranoid once and I didn't want to fight. Instead, I started looking through Emma's paperwork. I kept everything in a file box in her closet. Her birth certificate, her social security card, her medical records, everything. I pulled it all out one night while Jake was asleep and I went through every page. That's when I found something that made my stomach drop. There was a photocopy of Emma's birth certificate in the stack, but it wasn't one I had made. The quality was different, like it had been scanned on a really high-resolution scanner, the kind you'd find in an office. I only had one official copy of her birth certificate and it was in the file. I had never made a copy. Someone else had. I started thinking about who had access to our house. Jake's family came over all the time. Patricia had a key. Eric had been over dozens of times to check on the baby monitors he'd installed. Michelle came by to help with laundry when Emma was a newborn. Any of them could have gone into our closet and scanned Emma's documents. I felt sick. I wanted to talk to Jake, but I didn't know how to bring it up without sounding insane. So I waited. I watched. A few days later, I was going through my phone and I noticed something in my photo metadata. I'm not super tech-savvy, but I know enough to check the details on photos. I opened one of the pictures I'd taken of Emma and looked at the information. It showed the date, the time, the location, and something else I'd never noticed before. There were strings of numbers labeled as facial landmarks. I Googled it. Facial landmarks are points on a face used for recognition and mapping. Eyes, nose, mouth, jawline, all mapped with coordinates. Every photo I took of Emma had this data embedded in it. I checked older photos from before she was born. My photos didn't have that data. Neither did photos I'd taken of Jake or myself. Only Emma's photos. Only after Eric installed the baby monitor system. I went into Emma's room and looked at the cameras. There were 3 of them. One above the crib. One by the changing table. One by the door. Eric said it was for full coverage so we'd never miss anything. I looked closer at the camera above the crib. There was a tiny label on the bottom with a brand name I didn't recognize. I Googled it. It wasn't a baby monitor brand. It was a security camera company that sold equipment for facial recognition and biometric tracking. The description on their website said the cameras were designed for commercial use. Airports, office buildings, places that needed to track and identify people. I checked the app Eric had installed on my phone to view the monitors. I went into the settings. The cameras were recording constantly, not just when Emma moved or made noise. They were recording and uploading footage to a cloud server. The server address was a long string of numbers. I copied it and searched for it online. Nothing came up. It was private. I didn't know what to do. I knew something was wrong, but I didn't have proof of what. I thought about taking the cameras down, but I didn't want anyone to know I was suspicious. So I left them unstarted, documenting everything. I took photos of the camera labels. I screenshots of the app settings. I saved every weird piece of mail Emma received. I started a hidden folder on my phone and backed everything up to a cloud account Jake didn't know about. That weekend, we went to Ron and Patricia's house for Sunday dinner. It was a family tradition. Everyone was there, Eric, Michelle, Jake's cousins, everyone. Emma was 6 months old and everyone wanted to hold her. Patricia took about 50 photos. Michelle recorded videos for the Instagram account. Eric asked if he could take some portrait shots with his professional camera. He said he wanted to print an ice photo for Patricia's birthday. I said okay. He spent 20 minutes taking photos of Emma from different angles, Close minus ups of her face, her hairs. He said he wanted to get the lighting just right. I thought it was excessive, but I didn't say anything. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the cameras, the photos, the facial landmarks, the identity theft. I got out of bed and went downstairs. I opened my laptop and I started searching. I didn't even know what I was looking for. I typed in things like baby identity theft, child biometric to facial recognition fraud. Most of what came up was articles about data privacy and how companies were collecting biometric information without consent. But then I found something else. I found a forum. It was hidden on a part of the internet I didn't even know existed. I had to download special software just to access it. The forum was about buying and selling personal information, social security numbers, credit reports, medical records, biometric data. There were threads about children's identities being worth more because they were clean. No credit history, no criminal record, easy to use for fraud. I felt like I was going to throw up. I kept scrolling. There were listings. People selling packages of information. Photos, birth certificates, social security numbers, facial scans, voice samples. I saw a listing for a 6-month-old girl on the East Coast. The description said the package included full biometric mapping, high-resolution facial scans, and verified documents. The price was $15,000. I clicked on the listing. The photos were blurred, but I could see enough. A baby girl with dark hair and brown eyes. Emma has dark hair and brown eyes. The listing said the data had been collected over a 6-month period and included over 500 photos, 20 hours of video, and complete facial landmark mapping. I stared at the screen. I didn't want to believe it. I couldn't believe it, but I couldn't ignore it either. I started going through the forum more carefully. I made a fake account. I messaged people. I asked questions. I pretended I was interested in buying. One seller told me that the best sources for clean child data were family members because they had constant access and the parents never suspected anything. Another seller said biometric data was the most valuable because it could be used for deep fake creation, identity verification fraud, and digital trafficking networks. I didn't know what most of that meant, but I saved every conversation. I went back to the listing for the 6-month-old girl. I looked at the blurred photos again. I looked at the description. The seller's username was something generic. I clicked on their profile. They had been a member for 3 years. They had sold dozens of packages. I looked at their other listings. There were more children, different ages, different descriptions. All of them included biometric data. All of them had been collected over months. All of them were sold for thousands of dollars. I felt like I was drowning. I checked the metadata on the listing photos. I know you can't usually get much from blurred images, but these weren't fully obscured. I could still see parts of the background. I zoomed in. I saw the edge of a white crib. I saw a corner of a wall with a specific paint color. I saw part of a mobile hanging above the crib. It was the same mobile we had in Emma's room. The same mobile Patricia had bought us as a baby shower gift. I stared at the screen for 10 minutes. I kept zooming in on doubt. I compared it to photos I had taken in Emma's room. It was the same room, the same crib, the same wall. Someone had taken photos in Emma's room and posted them on a dark web forum selling children's biometric data. I wanted to scream. I wanted to grab Emma and run. But I didn't. I sat there and I kept searching. I went through every listing the seller had posted. I found 2 more that had blurred photos with backgrounds I recognized. One had the corner of Ron and Patricia's living room in the background. The other had the edge of Eric's dining room table. These photos weren't just from our house. They were from family locations. Locations where Emma had been. Locations where Jake's family had taken photos of her. I spent the rest of the night downloading everything I could find. I took screenshots. I saved links. I documented every listing, every conversation, every piece of information. By the time the sun came up, I had hundreds of files. I didn't know what to do with them, but I knew I couldn't tell Jake. Not yet. I didn't know if he was part of it, or if he'd believe me. I decided to wait. I decided to keep watching. Over the next 2 weeks, I started noticing more things. Jake's family was acting different. Patricia called me every single day to ask about Emma. She wanted to know if I had taken her anywhere, if I had posted any new photos, if I had been to the doctor. Michelle stopped by unexpectedly 3 times in 1 week. She said she was just in the neighborhood, but we didn't live near anything. Eric texted Jake constantly asking for updates. When I looked at Jake's phone one night while he was in the shower, I saw messages I didn't understand. Eric had sent Jake a message that said need more samples before the end of the month. Jake had responded, "I'll get them." I didn't know what that meant. I took a photo of the conversation with my own phone. I started testing them. I posted a photo in the family album app and I embedded a fake location tag. I said we were at a park across town. Within an hour, Michelle texted me asking if we were still at the park because she wanted to stop by. I hadn't told anyone we were going to a park. She only knew because she saw the location tag. I told her we had just left. She didn't come by. I posted another photo a few days later with a different fake location. This time Eric texted Jake asking if we were at that specific place. Jake asked me if we had been there. I said no. He seemed confused. I acted like I didn't know what he was talking about. Then I found the phone. I was putting laundry away in Jake's dresser and I found a phone I'd never seen before in the back of his sock drawer. It wasn't his regular phone. It was older. A cheap Android with a cracked screen. I turned it on. It didn't have a password. I opened it and I saw an app I didn't recognize. I clicked on it. It opened to a dashboard with Emma's face on it. There were photos of her. Hundreds of them. Organized by date. There were videos. There were files labeled with things like facial map, voice sample, docs can. I opened one of the video files. It was Emma crying. The video was from the baby monitor in her room. I opened another file. It was a recording of me singing to her at night. I had never consented to being recorded. I opened the docs-can folder. Inside were high-resolution scans of Emma's birth certificate, her social security card, her medical records, and my driver's license. I put the phone back exactly where I found it. I didn't say anything to Jake. I went to our bedroom and I threw up. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. I texted my mom and told her I needed her to watch Emma for a few hours. I didn't tell her why. I dropped Emma off and I drove to the police station. I brought everything I had found. The screenshots, the forum listings, the photos of the cameras, the information about the phone. I sat down with a detective and I told him everything. He listened. He took notes. He said it sounded like a case for federal investigators because it involved internet crimes and identity theft across state lines. He said he would make some calls. He told me not to do anything that would alert the family. He said if they were running a criminal operation, they needed to be caught in the act. He said I needed to go home and act normal. I asked him how I was supposed to do that. He didn't answer. I went home. I picked up Emma. I made dinner. I acted normal. Jake came home from work and he kissed me and he asked about my day. I told him it was fine. He played with Emma. He gave her a bath. He read her a bedtime story. He was so gentle with her. I didn't understand how he could be part of something so horrible. I didn't understand how any of them could. That night, after Jake fell asleep, I went through his phone. I know the passcode. I opened his messages. I went through every conversation with Eric. Most of it was normal brother stuff. sports and plans for the weekend. But then I found a thread from a few months ago. Eric had sent Jake a link. The message said, "New client wants fresh samples. Can you get video this week?" Jake had responded, "Yeah, I'll get it tonight." I scrolled up. There were more messages like that going back to when Emma was 2 months old. Upload today's batch. Client needs voice recordings. Send the new scans by Friday. I took photos of everything. I checked Jake's email. He had an account I didn't know about. The emails were all related to transactions. Pay months sent, pay months received. There were emails from usernames I recognized from the dark web forum. They were negotiating prices. They were discussing delivery methods. They were talking about my daughter like she was a product. I felt like I was going to be sick again. I kept reading. I found an email from Eric with an attachment. The subject line said updated catalog. I downloaded the attachment. It was a PDF with photos of Emma. Professional photos, close-ups, full-body shots. Each photo had a label. Subject T-2020 for 3, age 6 months, Dota package full biometric mapping. There were other children in the catalog too. I didn't recognize them. Each one had a different subject number. Each one had a price listed. Emma's price was listed as $18,000 for the complete package. I forwarded the email to myself and deleted the sent message from Jake's account. I put his phone back. I went to the bathroom and I sobbed into a towel so I wouldn't wake him up. I didn't know how to process what I was seeing. My husband, the man I married, the father of my child, was selling our daughter's identity on the dark web. His brother was running the operation. His whole family was involved. The next morning, Jake left for work early. He said he had a meeting. I called the detective and I told him what I'd found. He said he was going to escalate the case immediately. He said the FBI would be in touch with me within 40-8 hours. He told me again to act normal. He said if Jake or anyone in his family suspected I knew anything, they could destroy evidence or disappear. I said okay. I hung up. I felt completely alone. That afternoon, Patricia called. She said she wanted to take Emma for the day. She said she missed her and wanted some grandma time. I made an excuse. I said Emma had a cold. Patricia said she didn't mind. I said, I'd rather keep her home. Patricia's voice changed. She said I was being overprotective. She said I needed to let Emma bond with her family. I told her maybe next week. She hung up without saying goodbye. 5 minutes later, Jake texted me. He said his mom was upset. He said I needed to be nicer to her. He said she was just trying to be involved. I didn't respond. That night, Michelle showed up at our door. She said she brought soup because she heard Emma was sick. I didn't invite her in. I took the soup and thanked her. She asked if she could see Emma. I said Emma was sleeping. Michelle looked past me into the house. She said she wouldn't wake her. She just wanted to peek in. I said no. She stared at me. She asked if everything was okay. I said everything was fine. She left, but she sat in her car outside our house for 20 minutes before driving away. I watched her from the window. The FBI called me the next day. 2 agents came to the house while Jake was at work. They showed me their badges. They asked me to go through everything again. I showed them all the evidence I had collected. They took copies of everything. They asked me about Jake's family. They asked about their finances, their jobs, their relationships. They asked if I felt safe. I said I didn't know. They said they were opening a full investigation. They said it could take weeks or months to build a case. They said I needed to continue acting normal. They said they would be monitoring Jake and his family. They gave me a number to call if anything escalated. They told me to be careful. They told me to trust no one. I tried to act normal, but it was getting harder. Jake was on his phone constantly. He was texting Eric multiple times a day. He started coming home late. He said he was working on a project. I didn't believe him. I went through his phone every night after he fell asleep. The messages were getting more urgent. Eric kept asking for updated samples. Jake kept saying he was trying. Eric sent a message that said clients are asking why there's been a delay. Jake responded she's being weird. Won't let me take photos. They were talking about me. They knew I was pulling back. Ron called me one afternoon. He said the family was worried about me. He said I seemed distant. He asked if something was wrong between me and Jake. I said everything was fine. He said Patricia thought I was struggling with postpartum depression. I told him I wasn't. He said they wanted to help. He said they thought it might be good for me to talk to someone. He gave me the name of a therapist. I Googled the therapist later. She specialized in parental competency evaluations. I felt my blood go cold. They were setting something up. They were building a case to say I was unstable. I called the FBI agents. I told them what Ron had said. They said it was a common tactic. They said if the family was trying to discredit me, it meant they suspected I knew something. They said I needed to be very careful. They said if the family tried to take Emma or if I felt unsafe, I needed to call them immediately. They said they were expediting the investigation. They said they were close to getting warrants. Jake's behavior got worse. He started asking me why I wasn't posting photos of Emma anymore. I told him I was just busy. He said the family missed seeing updates. He said they thought I was shutting them out. I told him they could visit if they wanted. He said I always made excuses when they tried. I didn't respond. He got angry. He said I was being unreasonable. He said his family had been nothing but supportive and I was treating them like strangers. I wanted to scream at him. I wanted to tell him I knew everything. But I didn't. I just walked away. That weekend, Jake said we were going to his parents' house for dinner. He said it wasn't optional. He said the family needed to talk to me. I didn't want to go, but I didn't have a choice. If I refused, it would confirm their suspicions. I agreed. I brought Emma. I brought my phone with the FBI's number already pulled up, ready to call. When we got to Ron and Patricia's house, everyone was there. Eric, Michelle, Jake's cousins, everyone. They were all sitting in the living room when we walked in. It felt like an intervention. Patricia took Emma from me before I could say anything. She carried her into the kitchen. I tried to follow, but Jake grabbed my arm. He told me to sit down. Everyone was staring at me. Ron started talking. He said the family was concerned. He said they'd noticed I was acting strange. He said they thought I was overwhelmed and needed help. Patricia came back without Emma. I asked where she was. Patricia said she was in the playpen in the other room. I stood up. Ron told me to sit down. His voice was firm. I sat. Eric spoke next. He said they'd been talking and they thought it would be best if Emma stayed with Patricia and Ron for a little while. He said I needed time to rest and recover. I said no. Michelle said they weren't asking. She said they were worried about Emma's safety. I asked what that meant. She said I'd been neglecting Emma, not taking her to family gatherings, not letting anyone see her, isolating her. I said that wasn't true. Jake didn't say anything. He just looked at the floor. I stood up again. I said I was leaving and I was taking Emma. Ron blocked the doorway. He said they couldn't let me do that. He said they'd already spoken to a lawyer. He said they had grounds to file for emergency custody. He said they had evidence that I was mentally unstable and a danger to Emma. I asked what evidence. Patricia pulled out a folder. Inside were printed screenshots of my internet history, searches for things like how to disappear, leaving your spouse, protecting your child from family, signs of mental illness. I had never searched for any of those things. They had planted them. They had accessed my devices and fabricated evidence. I told them it was fake. I told them they were lying. Eric said I was being paranoid. He said that was proof I needed help. Michelle said they were doing this because they loved me. I started backing toward the kitchen. I needed to get to Emma. Jake finally stood up. He walked over to me. He grabbed both my arms. He looked me in the eyes. He said I needed to calm down. He said I was scaring everyone. I asked him how he could do this. I asked him how he could sell our daughter. His face changed. He knew that I knew. Everything happened fast after that. Jake tightened his grip on my arms. He told Eric to call the therapist. I screamed. I pulled away from Jake and I ran to the kitchen. Emma was in the playpen crying. I grabbed her. Patricia tried to take her from me. I shoved her away. I ran for the front door. Ron grabbed me. I was holding Emma with one arm and trying to dial my phone with the other. Ron ripped the phone out of my hand. I screamed for help. The neighbors couldn't hear us. We weren't too far from the road. Jake came up behind me. He wrapped his arms around me and Emma. He was trying to pull her away from me. I held on tighter. Emma was screaming. I was screaming. Everyone was yelling. I bit Jake's hand. He let go. I ran out the front door. I got to my car. I put Emma in her car seat. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely buckle her in. I could hear them coming out of the house. I got in the driver's seat. I locked the doors. I started the car. Jake was banging on the window. I put the car in reverse and I drove. I didn't know where to go. I couldn't go home. They knew where I lived. I drove to a police station 2 towns over. I ran inside with Emma. I told them I needed help. I told them my family was trying to take my baby. I told them I was part of an FBI investigation. They called the agents. The agents arrived within 30 minutes. They took me and Emma to a safe location. They told me I did the right thing by running. They told me the warrants had just been approved. They were executing them that night. The FBI raided Ron and Patricia's house that evening. They raided Eric's apartment. They seized computers, phones, cameras, hard drives, documents, everything. They arrested Eric first, then Ron, then Patricia, then Michelle. They arrested Jake at our house. He didn't resist. The agents told me later that they found everything. A complete operation. Eric had been running a dark web marketplace selling children's biometric data for 3 years. He had dozens of clients. He had sold data from over 50 children. Most of the children were from families Eric knew. Relatives, friends, acquaintances. He recruited family members to collect data. Jake had been recruited when I got pregnant. So had Michelle. Ron and Patricia knew everything. They had been helping with the logistics, the document collection, the surveillance. The cameras in Emma's room had been feeding data directly to Eric's servers. Every photo I posted had been processed for facial mapping and sold. Emma's identity had been sold to 7 different clients. Her biometric data had been used to create fake IDs, fraudulent accounts, and deep fake videos. The FBI found the catalog. They found the transactions. They found communications with buyers all over the world. They found evidence of other crimes too: wire fraud, identity theft, child exploitation, conspiracy, everything. The operation had made over $2 million. Jake's share was $300,000. He had a separate bank account I didn't know about. He'd been planning to leave me. He'd been planning to take Emma and disappear once the operation got too risky. The trial took a year. I testified. I brought all the evidence I'd collected. The FBI brought their evidence. It was overwhelming. Eric was convicted on 40-7 counts. He got 30 years in federal prison. Ron and Patricia got 15 years each. Michelle got 10 years. Jake got 18 years. They all tried to make deals. They all tried to blame each other. None of them showed remorse. During the sentencing, Patricia looked at me and told me I had destroyed the family. She said I was a selfish, paranoid, ungrateful woman who couldn't appreciate what they had done for me. The judge told her to be quiet. The aftermath was brutal. The story went national. News outlets picked it up. Reddit threads exploded. YouTube channels covered it. People called me a hero. People called me stupid for not knowing sooner. People blamed me for marrying into that family. People sent me death threats. People sent me messages of support. I had to delete all my social media. I had to change my phone number. I had to move 3 times because people kept finding out where I lived. Emma's data had been sold. But the FBI worked with the platforms and agencies to flag her biometric information. Every account created with her identity was shut down. Every fraudulent document was voided. It took months. Her credit was locked until she turns 18. Her social security number was changed. We had to get new birth certificates, new medical records, new everything. She'll never know a life where her identity wasn't stolen by her own family before she was a year old. I filed for divorce while Jake was in jail. It was finalized in 3 months. He tried to fight for custody. His lawyer argued that he had been coerced by Eric. The judge laughed at him. He has no rights to Emma. He'll never see her again. I got a restraining order against all of them. If any of them try to contact me or Emma after they're released, they go back to prison. I'm still in therapy. Emma is 3 now. She's happy and healthy and she has no idea what happened. I'll tell her one day when she's older. I don't know how. I don't know what I'll say. I don't know how to explain that the people who were supposed to love her tried to sell her. I don't know how to explain that her own father valued money more than her safety. I don't trust anyone anymore. I don't let people take photos of Emma. I don't post anything online. I homeschool her because I don't trust schools with her information. I check her credit report every month. I monitor every database that has her name in it. I've become the paranoid person they tried to paint me as, except now I have a reason. People ask me how I'm doing and I don't know what to say. I'm alive. Emma is safe. That's all that matters. But I'm not okay. I don't think I'll ever be okay. I still have nightmares about that night at Ron and Patricia's house. I still hear Emma screaming. I still feel Jake's hands on me trying to take her away. I still see their faces when I told them I knew what they'd done. They weren't surprised. They weren't sorry. They were just angry that they got caught. The FBI told me I saved other children by coming forward. Eric's client list led to more investigations, more arrests, more operations being shut down. They said I should be proud. I don't feel proud. I feel like I failed Emma by not seeing it sooner. I feel like I should have known. I should have questioned the cameras. I should have questioned the constant photos. I should have questioned why they were so obsessed with documenting every second of her life. But I didn't. I thought it was love. I didn't know love could look like that and be so evil underneath. I don't talk to anyone from that family anymore. I don't talk to anyone who stayed in contact with them. I cut off everyone who sent me messages saying I overreacted or that I should forgive them or that family is family. Family isn't family when they sell your child. Family isn't family when they gaslight you and try to have you committed so they can take your baby. Family isn't family when they value money over a human life. Emma will grow up without grandparents, without aunts and uncles, without cousins. She'll grow up with just me. I hope that's enough. I hope I can give her a life where she feels safe and loved and protected. I hope I can make up for the fact that her existence was commodified before she could even speak. I hope she never finds out how much her face was worth to strangers on the internet. I don't forgive them. I don't think I ever will. People tell me forgiveness is for me, not for them, that holding on to anger will eat me alive. But my anger is what saved Emma. My anger is what made me keep searching when everyone told me I was paranoid. My anger is what made me run when they tried to take her. My anger is what put them in prison. So I'll keep my anger. It's mine. I earned it. If anyone reading this has a bad feeling about their family, trust it. If something feels wrong, it probably is. If people are too interested in your child, ask why. If someone wants constant access to your baby, ask what they're doing with that access. If your spouse defends their family over you, ask why. Don't ignore the red flags. Don't gaslight yourself into thinking you're paranoid. I did that and I almost lost everything. I'm writing this because I need people to know this can happen. I need people to know that the dark web isn't just hackers in basements. It's families. It's people you trust. It's the ones who have access to your life, your home, your children. I need people to know that identity theft doesn't always look like a stranger stealing your credit card. Sometimes it looks like a grandmother asking for photos. Sometimes it looks like an uncle installing cameras. Sometimes it looks like a husband downloading an app. Check your devices. Check your photos. Check your metadata. Check who has access to your child's information. Check your family. I know it sounds insane. I know it sounds paranoid. But I'm telling you check. Because I didn't, and I almost lost my daughter to people who were supposed to protect her. Hima is asleep in the next room right now. She's safe. The cameras are gone. The phones are gone. The family is gone. It's just us. And I'll spend the rest of my life making sure it stays that way. I'll spend the rest of my life making sure no one ever uses her again. I'll spend the rest of my life being the mother she deserves. The mother I should have been from the beginning. I don't know if this